Welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be doing a video on Ari's birth. I did one after Avi's birth, and even though Ari was born almost 15 months ago, I thought that it would be nice to have it there in case he ever wants to watch this and he can see what his birth was like. It was a little different from his brother's. But before I dive in, for those who are new, my name is Flora. I am a mother of 2 boys. I live in Haiti and I do Montessori, and my videos are about our life and motherhood and lifestyle videos. So welcome, and if you're new, I would love it if you subscribe. So let's dive in to Ari's birth. By the way, I am finally home. I was in Florida since May, so 3 months, something like that, and it's good to be home. I tried to film this video in Florida, but I was having some technical difficulties, so hopefully this time I will not. It will be stable, it will not go out of focus, so here's hoping. So let's dive into Ari's birth. I got pregnant with my second son when Avi, my first son, was 8 months old. I kept breastfeeding the whole time, for one thing. And so my first son was born early. He was born at 39 weeks, 39 weeks and 1 day, even though he was born at like 2 in the morning, so we'll just say 39 weeks. I had a membrane sweep done, and I was also using my pump. So by the time I was 39 weeks with my second son, they didn't do a membrane sweep. They said they wouldn't do one until I was 40 weeks. So this midwife was different, for one thing. The one I wanted, my original one, the one that I had with Abby, she couldn't come because her daughter was due at the same time around them, and she didn't want to miss her daughter's birth. So yeah, that was fine. And also the pandemic happened. So let's continue. So at 39 weeks, I was starting to pump. I wasn't pumping as much as I could have. I was trying to induce some labor, which my old midwife said it was fine at that time, so I was trying to do that. And nothing was really happening. I was like, okay, this baby is gonna be late. He's gonna be late. That's it. I'm exhausted. I didn't want to be pregnant anymore. I was having a really hard time adjusting to the fact that, oh my God, I'm going to have a second child. I'm going to have 2 under 2. This is crazy. What am I getting myself into? So it is 39 plus 6 days. And I'm putting Avi to bed. I give him his bath. I do all those things, and he's in bed, so I'm like, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna lay down. So I lay down, and I'm on my computer watching Netflix when suddenly I feel wet. I'm like, okay, so I go to the bathroom thinking that maybe I had to pee. I go to the bathroom and I change my pants, and then it happens again. Okay. And then I change my pants again, and then it happens again. It takes me 3 times for me to realize, this maybe is my water breaking. And the reason why you would think, okay, this isn't your first time giving birth. Shouldn't you know that this is your water breaking? My water never broke with Abby. I had contractions, and my midwife broke my water. So I didn't know what it felt like for your water to break, and it didn't feel like a gush, like in the movies, sometimes you just see that big, phew. That's not how it was at all. It was very slow. So Chris is on the other side of the house, and I text him and I say, I'm gonna call the midwife, just letting you know. And so I call the midwife. She doesn't answer. So I call the clinic and I say, by the way, I think my water just broke. I'm trying to get in touch with my midwife. I think she needs to come. So I'm waiting by my phone, and there's more water. At this point, all I have is a towel wrapped around me because I'm like, I'm tired. I have no more pants at this point. So, I'm waiting for a call. Chris is like, "Why? What's going on? Why? How come the midwife is coming?" I was like, "I think my water broke. I think it's gonna start." At this time, I'm not having any pain, no contractions, no nothing. My midwife calls. She's like, "Okay, what's going on?" I say, "I think my water broke. I'm not really sure because this didn't happen with my first." She's like, "Are you having any pain, any contractions?" I'm like, "Not yet." She's like, "Okay, well, I'll be right over." So I'm waiting, I'm stressing. Literally, the second she pulls up to the house, I get my first contraction. I'm like, "Oh boy, okay, it's time. This is happening." Then they check me and they actually give me, so I'm laying in bed and I have to wear a mask. This is during the pandemic. This was June, so he was born on June 21st, so this was June 20th at night. By that time, it's already 9 p.m. So I'm laying in bed. I have to wear a mask just because she was, even though it's a home birth, she was high risk, my midwife, so she had to be very careful, which was fine, but extremely hard. Not something I ever want to relive, having to wear a mask giving my birth in my own house. That was very unpleasant. So she gives me a membrane sweep. She said, "Yeah, that was." She tests, to see if the water was my water, and yep, it was. I'm starting to feel a lot of pain. Chris comes over to this part of the house, and I'm just going through the pain. It's starting to hurt. I'm getting nervous. I'm feeling very nauseous. I remember feeling so nauseous. I'm like, okay, I need a garbage can. I need a garbage can. And I remember throwing up. With Abby, I threw up twice. At least with Ari, I only threw up once. So it was a little better. And I was just I remember going on the balcony so I could take off my mask. The midwives would check every 15 minutes. I then remember at one point where it's getting later and later. I remember having to go to the bathroom. I'm feeling the pain. I'm just dealing with it. They went back downstairs. I was, when they weren't in the room, I obviously took off my mask because I'm not going to put myself through that. It's in my own house, especially. And they're checking, and at one point I go to the bathroom because I feel like I have to poop, and they check me again, and they're like, "Do you feel like you have to poop?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "I think it's time for you to push." I'm like, then at one point they asked me, "Do you want to push on the toilet?" I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not pushing my child into a toilet." I'm like, "No, thank you. I would like to go to my bed if I'm going to start pushing." And so we start to push. I'm starting to push slowly. Because honestly, I can deal with the contractions. For me, the worst part is the pushing. It's not everyone's experience. As some people feel like it's a release, but they do call that like the ring of fire a lot of times. And I am pushing, and at one point the midwife is still checking his heart rate, and she tells us, me and Chris, his heart rate is going down. It's getting lower. So I literally have to push him out of my body very quickly, and it was the scariest moment of my life, because I thought that he was going to come out not breathing or not alive. But I pushed him with all my might. It hurt really badly, and also I didn't know if he was a boy or a girl. Chris knew, but I decided that I did not want to know. I pushed him out as hard as I could, as quickly as I could. They lay him on my chest. He has this beautiful cry, and he latched on very quickly to my breast, and he was thankfully fine. Chris cut the cord, and he was healthy. he was perfect, and I just held him. I was happy that he was healthy. I knew he was a boy inside me, even though I didn't know. I knew inside that he was going to be a boy. I had no doubt that it was going to be a boy. And he was a beautiful little boy who is now 15 months old. And let's see. So Chris and I fell asleep. The midwives were still there. They had to check him. And then they left. I was still sleeping. And then at 7:30, Chris had to get Avi. I was still really weak, and I was still in a lot of pain. To push out my placenta, I had to do all that. So that was, giving birth is hard work. And after, it's a lot. It was also, one thing they don't tell you is the afterbirth pain, at least for me, was worse than the first time. I had a lot more pain. So anytime, because your uterus is shrinking back, it basically makes it more painful. And because there was more to stretch this time, because it was my second birth, it hurts more, from what I understand. So, yeah. And then the midwives came back the afternoon. They checked on him, make sure that I was okay. They took my blood pressure. In the morning when Chris got Avi, so Chris got Avi, and he brought him to the room. Avi was very confused. Like, he saw this little baby in my arms, and he was like, "Where did that baby come from?" At this time, Avi's only 17 months old. Yeah. Avi's only 17 months old, and so he was very confused. I don't think he realized I was pregnant. Like, he saw my belly getting big, but honestly, he would use it as a drum. It was what it was. He would sit and bounce on my belly sometime. It was like a little chair. He saw me getting fat, but I don't think it registered that, oh, there's a baby in there. He was so young. I don't know when kids realize that, oh, mommy is pregnant, mommy has a sibling, a baby's gonna come out of her. Avi did not realize that. And then, so Chris went upstairs with him so I could rest. And then I came upstairs eventually, and I remember Avi looking at the blanket, lifting up, because I had Ari wrapped in a little blanket. And so, what was I saying? Yeah, so Avi, I had him wrapped, and in this blanket, sorry, I'm getting distracted by my son.
Gentil, Avi.
And Avi kept like taking the blanket off, and was very curious. I remember him, like, I used to put Ari in this little, his snuggle me, and I would be reading a book. But he didn't really want to touch him that much. He was very helpful. I had him help me, which I think really helped him. Like, oh, will you get me a wipe? Will you throw away this dirty diaper? Will you get me a new diaper? I think that was like one of the best ways that I really got him to make sure that he was in helping his sibling. This is his sibling. This was his brother. I wanted him to acknowledge that. I wanted him to be, I wanted to acknowledge that even though he was young, he could still help me, especially because he is a Montessori child. We believe in being part of the community. This is his house, this is his family, and giving him an advantage of doing that. So we really tried to embrace that. And he was very helpful. Even though he was young, he still helped as much as he could. But it was a lot for me, having two under two, just because, I'd be breastfeeding and I couldn't, Avi would have to wait, and I couldn't give my one-on-one attention. So we did get a nanny. Thankfully, we are in Haiti where we are able to afford it. And so we were able, in Haiti it's very affordable to have help. So we got a nanny who could really, she would spend the mornings with Avi, and then I would come up and I'd give her Ari, and you know, I was able to have that one-on-one time with each of my children. And so, you know, it has its challenges, you know, having two so close in age, but now finally Avi and Ari have a bond, and they started sharing a room around 6 months. Also, one thing I do want to add, when it comes to Montessori, with Avi I started at 6 months, with Ari I started at birth. And one of the things that we did at birth is, so for the first 2 months, Ari slept in our bed. And then it was in the same room. We had an old crib that was Avi's originally, but we took off the side and we cut down the legs, so it was a floor bed. So Ari has never slept in a crib in a day in his life. He has been completely independent. He has never fallen out of that bed. And now actually the boys have decided that they like to sleep in the same bed. So they cuddle, they just like having them there for each other. So I feel like Ari's bed is like just taking up room right now. But yeah, so Ari turned 1 in Florida. That was his first birthday. So now he is 15 months and we're finally home. And we might be sending just 2 times a week Abby to school. I will make another video about all that because honestly it's not something that I want. It's more his dad for social reasons, which I understand, but I'm not thrilled about it. I will go into a lot of detail about that and why I'm not a fan of it. But we're only gonna, I'm negotiating with him, I'll say, of only doing it twice a week. Yeah. So let me continue regarding Ari. Ari is a beautiful, sweet boy. I call him, Ari, his name means lion, so I call him my little lion. He has the cutest smile. He loves his brother. He loves my dog, Mila. She's my little Schnauzer Chihuahua that I've had since way before I even had kids. I've had her almost 8 years. Which doesn't seem a long time, but you know, we've been through a lot together, and actually, fun fact is they have the same birthday. Different years, obviously, but the same birthday. So June 21st is their birthday, so they share that bond, and he loves her, except Mila sometimes gets annoyed with him, and she's like, leave me alone. You know, she's grumpy, but she's very sweet. When she growls, I just say gentle, and she just starts licking him. So I think that is it for this video. Ari's birth was different, and I am so grateful that his birth turned out the way it did, that he is safe, and obviously both my boys were born at home. It was a choice, and it was the only choice that I could personally make for myself. For me, giving birth at home was so important. It always has been. It is one of the things that I fought for. As long as my kids are healthy, I will give birth at home. Hospitals scare me. I don't see why I should give birth. For me, again, I don't know why I should give birth in a place where a lot of people die. That's how I see hospitals. It's not a place where I literally wake up giving birth and I'm home. I can eat whatever I want. My first meal after birth with Avi was 2 burgers and a banana, and with Ari it was oatmeal, which because of the pain I actually threw up that oatmeal, but nonetheless, you know, I wake up in my own bed, I gave birth in my own bed, I gave birth, you know, it's relaxing, it's calming. I didn't have to leave my child with someone. He was asleep, thankfully, and obviously it's a little confusing that in the morning, you know, he wakes up to a sibling, but I didn't have to say, okay, mommy will be back in a couple of days. There was no mommy leaving. And even if I had given birth, like, with him, you know, with him awake, I would probably had him in the room and I'll probably be nursing him at the same time. I don't know if you guys are interested. Would you like a video regarding nursing 2 kids at the same time of different ages? Let me know if that is something that would be interested. So I think that is all for this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Have you ever thought about having her own birth?